Serious, John Smith. What are you standing there for? Explain your relationship with Emily Davis right now. Serious, a sharp, urgent male voice rang out. I snapped back to reality, finding myself standing on the rooftop. In front of me was the groom, Michael Johnson, dressed in a suit but teetering dangerously on the edge in the strong wind, his face full of anger. At this moment, everyone was watching me, their expressions anxious and complex. Angry John Smith. How can you stay silent at a time like this? Are you trying to push Michael to the brink? Urging John, please save Michael. Tearful and trembling John, please save Michael. Serious, I spoke sternly. Serious, Michael. Emily and I have had no relationship for a long time. I have a girlfriend, and you know her. Your sister, Sarah Wilson. Serious, the four of them looked shocked, but Michael quickly regained his composure and shouted angrily. Shouting, you're lying. You just returned from abroad. How could you know my sister? You're trying to deceive me. I knew you wouldn't admit it. Serious, he became more agitated, leaning further out. In a split second, I said. Serious, Sarah Wilson, graduated from Berklee College of Music, a violinist who loves to travel the world. She has 2 golden retrievers. She's 2 years younger than you, but not your biological sister. We've been together for 2 years. Believe it or not. Calm, brother, it's true. Come down first, and I'll explain everything. Relieved after a long standoff, Michael finally jumped back onto the platform and hugged Emily tightly. I collapsed to the ground, drenched in cold sweat. But it wasn't over yet. Sarah suddenly stood in front of me, blocking my way. Whispering, Mr. Smith, who are you? How do you know so much about me? Serious, who am I? I am John Smith, the one who was tragically wronged by that deceitful couple. In my previous life, Michael's leap at his own wedding, driven by emotional turmoil, shocked the entire society. In his farewell letter, he pointed all the blame at me. I became the third party who supposedly drove him to despair, condemned by everyone. Sad, may all homewreckers meet a terrible fate. Angry netizens cursed incessantly on all my social media accounts. I clarified, I reported to the police, I sued. But to little effect. After all, who can argue with the deceased? Sad later, when Michael's secret social media account was revealed, I fell into an abyss. In the end, on my way to treatment, my depression flared up and I ran into traffic, meeting a tragic end on the street. Shaking off the painful memories, I opened Michael's secret social media account. Serious, she was so absent-minded tonight. Turns out, her old flame is back. I saw him. Why didn't he stay abroad? What is he planning by suddenly returning? I heard her call his name in her sleep. At that moment, I almost lost my mind. She agreed to marry me long ago, but as the wedding approached, she hesitated. He must have done something. The night before the wedding, my fiancé texted another man, asking if there was still a chance between them. Ha! How absurd. Serious, the latest post stopped at, I'll give her one last chance. I am her destined man. Heartfelt and tearful, every word painted a picture of a humble, restrained lover. However, he never mentioned my efforts to distance myself and avoid any misunderstandings. Nor did he mention my clear response of no chance and subsequent blocking after her question. He blinded himself, deliberately ignoring my self-defense, indulging in his own fantasies. Then he dragged me into their insane love-hate drama, using his death to falsely accuse me. Serious, with a cold smile, I posted my first message on a newly registered social media account. Serious, to avoid any entanglement with them, I didn't even attend the banquet. But he still threatened me with his life to appear on the rooftop. What do I have to do to get rid of their harassment? Serious, during the day, I listened to the whispers in the break room. Cheerful, did you know? At the wedding, Emily called the groom John Smith during her vows. The groom flipped out and ran to the rooftop to end it all. Cheerful, oh my God, really? That's so dramatic. I always thought Emily looked at John a bit strangely. Cheerful, of course, I was there. They had a thing back in college. Why else do you think John suddenly returned to join our company? Cheerful, the groom is really pitiful, getting blindsided right before the wedding. Cheerful, just pray that John dares to attend the team-building event. Then we'll have a real show. Serious the next second, I pulled up the conversation on my phone and replied to the admin. Serious, I'll attend. Serious to clear my name, the first step is to deal with these rumor mongers.
On the day of the camping trip, a dozen people gathered on the lawn for a picnic.
Let's all toast to their happy marriage.
In the midst of everyone's congratulations, Emily Davis downed her drink in one go. Beside her, Michael Johnson looked hostile and unimpressed.
Michael, there was a misunderstanding at the wedding. Let me clarify here and now, Emily and I are just colleagues, nothing more and nothing less.
John glanced deliberately at David Brown.
Some might bring up our 3-month relationship back in college, but that ended a long time ago.
The colleagues around them looked awkward and curious, probably not expecting John to address the rumors so directly.
But John, can I ask on behalf of my good buddy Michael, why did you choose to join our company as soon as you returned to the country? Isn't it because of my sister-in-law?
I suggest you ask the general manager. I joined the company at his invitation.
David was momentarily speechless but persisted.
Then how come you just so happened to live right across from Michael and Emily?
John stared at David, his former college classmate and Michael's good friend, who had been the best man at the wedding.
Listen carefully. I bought that property right after graduation. It was only when I returned this year that I found out they lived across the hall. So, you should ask Emily and Michael why they moved in after me.
In the ensuing silence, Michael finally spoke up.
John, fine, let's talk. This past week, the stomach-warming porridge Emily brought you, the one you posted about on social media, did you enjoy it?
I made it.
Under everyone's astonished gaze, Michael looked at John with a cold, steady gaze.
Do you use a certain brand of niche cologne? Next time, be careful not to get it on my wife. And you left an earbud in Emily's car, didn't you? It even has your initials on it.
The evidence was overwhelming. Everyone turned their eyes to John again.
The porridge? I bought it from the 7-Eleven downstairs from the office. Do you need me to show you the receipt? Cologne? Sorry, I have a nasal condition and rarely use any fragrance. As for the earbud, let me see.
Under Michael's intense gaze, John glanced at it casually.
Oh, you mean the letter Z? But what does that prove? David's English name is Zach. Could it be, this is the earbud David was looking for in the group chat the other day? Come to think of it, I also saw the porridge and cologne on his desk.
Michael's face changed dramatically as he turned to look at his good friend.
Michael, don't listen to his nonsense. I never drank any porridge. The earbud is mine, but I've been looking for it for days. And I don't know who left the cologne on my desk. I thought it smelled nice, so I used it a few times.
His frantic explanations were cut off by a recording from John's phone, playing out loud.
David, I couldn't understand why you would spread baseless rumors, but just now, I had a bold guess. We were classmates, and now we're colleagues. Isn't it a bit too coincidental that you've always been around Emily? Are you the one secretly in love with her?
Facing Michael's piercing gaze, David completely panicked, his words becoming incoherent. By the time they had dinner that evening, David was nowhere to be seen. Only Michael, looking grim, and Emily, who was drowning her sorrows, remained.
Let me drive you home since you've been drinking.
On the way, Michael tenderly took care of his intoxicated wife in the back seat. Unfortunately, she was too drunk to respond. Once home, after helping her to the couch, Michael's tone softened for the first time.
I was a bit too sensitive before. Let's call it even for the misunderstandings today. But please, keep your distance from my wife and respect our boundaries. Don't come near us again.
I nodded, giving him some reassurance. Michael's frown eased, and he offered to walk me out. No need. Emily. I'm leaving now. Be good and listen to your husband.
The next second, Emily mumbled from the couch.
John. John.
Michael's eyes widened in shock as he looked at John. That day, amidst the chaos, I planted a small device in Michael Johnson's house. As soon as it connected, the sound of an argument came through my headphones.
Michael, how many times do I have to explain? Didn't we clear everything up that day? What are you still doubting?
Doubting what? I'm doubting that you and John Smith are playing me for a fool.
Think whatever you want. I'm exhausted. I need some air.
Bang! The door slammed shut. Lately, they had several arguments at home, both big and small. He was smart enough to quickly realize that everything was orchestrated by me. The porridge was indeed placed on my desk by Emily Davis, but I threw it away and bought a similar packaged one to post on social media. The headphones were left on the counter by David Brown when he was gossiping in the break room. When Emily Davis came to apologize for dragging me into the wedding drama, I casually tossed them into the passenger seat. As for the cologne, he could only blame himself for being opportunistic. He silently claimed a bottle of unopened cologne that no one had claimed. But even if he figured it out, so what? The rumors in the company had almost disappeared. And David Brown had been persuaded to leave by HR and had long since packed up and left. As it was almost time to clock out, I forced myself to speak to Emily Davis.
Emily, this project is nearing its deadline. Everyone in the team needs to stay late tonight.
But if you have something urgent, you can leave first.
She hesitated for a moment, then went out to make a call. When she returned, she said,
Count me in for dinner. I'll stay and work with everyone.
In the evening, when the whole team gathered to open the takeout, Michael Johnson showed up.
Michael, here to see Emily? Perfect timing. We're just about to eat. Join us.
Emily Davis was taken aback but still welcomed him in, whispering something to soothe him. When distributing the takeout, I accidentally placed several boxes of seafood risotto near them. Emily Davis, being considerate, handed him the food, then noticed the bag of chestnuts that came with the takeout and started peeling them patiently. I watched as Michael Johnson's face darkened bit by bit. With a bang, he set down the box of food with a grim expression. Sensing the tension between them, everyone exchanged glances.
Michael, the whole team is working late tonight, so we're just having a casual meal. The takeout might not be to everyone's taste.
Yes, Emily stayed late to work, so she didn't get a chance to go home. Don't take it to heart.
Really? Why is it that she never works late, except for today?
Michael suddenly looked at me with a pointed gaze. I met his gaze calmly. Of course, it wasn't a coincidence. Because I knew today was their 4-year anniversary. According to what he posted on social media last night, he planned to leave work early tonight to prepare a candlelit dinner to mend their relationship. How could I let the leading lady go home on time?
Michael, come with me.
Suddenly, Emily Davis, who had been silent, angrily pulled him out. We were left staring at each other. In the hallway, their argument continued.
What is it now? Why are you losing your temper for no reason again?
Do you know that if you keep this up, you'll make me a laughingstock at the company?
A laughingstock? I'm the real laughingstock here. Tell me, how did John Smith know about my transfer to another city? You couldn't resist sharing even that with him, could you?
What? I didn't.
Didn't? Ha! Emily Davis, tell me, do you even remember what today is? Do you remember that I'm allergic to seafood? Do you have any heart left for me at all?
The next day, Emily Davis, looking exhausted, approached me with a look of regret.
I'm really sorry again. I just can't understand why he's always so paranoid.
He knows you are aware that I like chestnuts. He knows you forgot he's allergic to seafood. These are all things he complained about in his past life on social media.
I smiled faintly.
It's okay. Michael Johnson just overthinks sometimes.
A colleague chimed in.
Honey, your husband really keeps a close eye on you, doesn't he? He makes a big deal out of every little thing. Honestly, isn't his need for control a bit excessive?
Yeah, I remember he even logged into your account last time and deleted all the male colleagues from your contacts, right?
These words made Emily Davis even more embarrassed. After the colleagues left, she looked at me hesitantly.
John, do you know about Michael's job transfer?
Is it a promotion? Congratulations.
She forced a smile and muttered to herself.
I knew it. How could you possibly know?
I watched her furrow her brow, discovering her husband's lies, and laughed inwardly. Of course, I knew. He wrote about it himself on social media, pondering how to convince Emily Davis to move to another city with him. That morning, I even made a point to run into Michael Johnson on his way to work and congratulated him. His surprised expression was priceless. In fact, it was easy to provoke Emily Davis. Just a glance, and she would start daydreaming, instantly immersed in fantasies of rekindling old feelings. For example, casually sending an emoji she often used in the workgroup chat. Or ordering her favorite latte for the whole team during afternoon tea. After a meeting, we walked out last.
Lately, he's been so on edge, snapping at me over the smallest things.
Maybe it's just because he cares about you too much.
Emily Davis looked at me, biting her lip, and gathered the courage to speak.
Your emotions are so much more stable than his. Back then, why didn't I cherish you?
I sneered inwardly. I remembered how, in my previous life, I had been desperate and begged her to clear my name. But she shamelessly said that since the whole internet already saw me as a bad person and her as a bad woman, we might as well be together. I lowered my head, not letting her see the disgust about to overflow from my eyes.
Emily, unfortunately, everything is in the past.
As I was about to leave, Emily Davis called out to me again.
If I hadn't been so playful back then and had cared more about your feelings, would we be the ones living together now?
For a second, I wanted to end her. But I paused, making my departure look more forlorn, more hesitant, more conflicted, before walking away quickly. In the office, my colleague saw me in a sharp suit, looking energetic, and teased.
John, are you in love? You look so dapper every day.
I smiled without saying a word. Then, after work, under Emily Davis's intense gaze, I answered Sarah Wilson's call.
Wait for me, I'm heading to the studio to pick you up now.
In the restaurant, Sarah Wilson looked at me and gently asked again.
Mr. Smith, you still haven't answered my question from last time.
I looked at the woman with bright eyes and white teeth in front of me. In my previous life, we had crossed paths because of Michael Johnson's memorial service. We even developed feelings for each other. But for obvious reasons, we both kept those untimely feelings to ourselves. We never spoke of them. She knew I wasn't responsible for her brother's demise. But her statements only made the public more sympathetic towards Michael Johnson and more hateful towards me. It was from Sarah Wilson that I learned Michael Johnson was adopted, taken in by their family at the age of 12. However, they weren't particularly close to him, merely fulfilling their duty to raise him. Later, when Michael Johnson faced opposition to marrying Emily Davis, he resolutely cut ties with them and never contacted them again. So, only Sarah Wilson attended the wedding.
My brother was stubborn and obsessive from a young age, extremely needy.
Yes, he seemed to have delusions. Always imagining that every man in the world was coveting his beloved wife. At this moment, Sarah Wilson was still waiting for me to speak, her eyes full of kindness and affection. But I had more important things to do, and I couldn't respond.
Does it matter who I am? Isn't it more important that I talked your brother down? We shouldn't stay in touch anymore, thank you.
With that, I hurried away. Tonight, Emily Davis was feeling down and had a social event to attend, making her emotionally vulnerable. I needed to get back early, open the door, and wait for the prey to come to me. Michael Johnson's transfer was postponed as he was unable to convince Emily Davis to leave with him and was too afraid to leave alone.
And social media, he vented his intense resentment against me.
He deliberately seduced her, and she's too naive to see it. As a man, I know exactly what his vile intentions are. Recently, she's been so gentle, turning back into the sweet girl who used to only act cute around me. How I wish it could stay this way forever. I hate him! I wish I could end him. He puts on a show in public but reveals his true nature in private. He's nothing but a despicable coward. I hate her stubbornness. I feel like I could strangle her. But when I wake up in the middle of the night and see her innocent, sleeping face, I just can't bring myself to do it.
Every word recorded his erratic emotions and struggles. Unlike his delusions of the past, some of what he said was true. There were things she might not have noticed, but he, always watching her closely, certainly did. Like the panicked look in her eyes when she avoided my gaze. Like her increasingly late work hours. Like her frequent daydreaming. In his latest post, he wrote,
Dare to covet my woman, dare to make me a laughingstock, I will make you pay dearly.
When Michael Johnson posted that video in the neighborhood group and tagged me, the entire group exploded. In the video, Emily Davis stepped out of the elevator, paused in the common area, glanced at her own home, and then clearly walked into my open door. 20 minutes later, she ran out, her face flushed and her clothes disheveled. Michael Johnson posted several accusatory messages, using provocative terms like affair, seduction, and adulterer. The group was instantly inflamed with outrage.
What's the world coming to? Affairs are so blatant now?
What does this mean? The adulterer lives right next door? So brazen?
Is this a real-life version of the guy next door?
Disgusting. All the scumbags and cheaters in the world should just disappear.
The flood of malicious comments came at me like a tidal wave. It felt like I was back in the previous life, suffocating under the weight of slanderous rumors. Back then, netizens swarmed in, conducting a virtual trial against me. They said, how could someone determined to end their life lie? Would they risk everything just to falsely accuse someone? The group members began tagging me and Emily Davis in a chain reaction. Amidst the righteous indignation, Emily Davis had no choice but to make a hasty statement.
You're crazy! Take it down now! I'll come back and explain everything!
Her message was quickly drowned out by venomous comments. I opened my door. Michael Johnson was already waiting at his, staring at me with a heavy gaze. His eyes were full of arrogance and provocation.
John Smith, I warned you not to mess with me. Or you will pay dearly.
In the silent standoff, the elevator doors opened. Emily Davis rushed out, screaming and pounding on his chest, demanding he clear things up in the group.
Michael, stop this madness! Tell them the truth!
After being coldly refused, she slapped him. Michael Johnson, enraged, grabbed her flailing wrist.
Emily Davis! Are you out of your mind?
The commotion drew another neighbor to open their door and investigate. Seeing Emily Davis protecting me, the so-called adulterer, while attacking her husband, the neighbor couldn't stand it and shouted.
You people are wicked. Bullying an honest man like this. I'm going to show everyone your disgraceful faces.
With that, she started filming us with her phone, adding inflammatory commentary.
Come see, the cheating woman and her lover are bullying the honest husband. What's the world coming to?
At that moment, I saw a faint, hidden smile at the corner of Michael Johnson's mouth. Well played. Sacrificing his own reputation just to bring me down. This desperate move was indeed ruthless. The situation was spiraling out of control, with personal attacks flying left and right.
Shameless! It's a disgrace to live in the same neighborhood as people like you.
I've shared this. Let the whole city, the whole country see how brazen mistresses are nowadays.
Don't let me see this pair in the neighborhood, or else.
Michael Johnson must have felt victorious. He had won the people's hearts. In the neighborhood group chat, enthusiastic residents were giving him advice and voicing their support. Some even suggested he post the video at our workplace to ruin our reputations. Such warm-heartedness and great love for humanity. Amidst the torrent of insults, I spoke for the first time.
I did not seduce anyone's wife.
Then why was your door open? Still say it wasn't seduction.
Would a decent person be alone with someone else's wife for so long?
Keeping someone else's wife at your place late at night. Don't tell me it was to look at a glow-in-the-dark watch?
I posted a surveillance video. In the video, I was working out at home when Emily Davis, looking unsteady, suddenly barged in, holding her head and saying she had a headache. While I was looking for medicine, she secretly put something in my drink and coaxed me to drink it. As I became groggy, she pounced on me and started tearing at my clothes. It wasn't until I cut my hand and slapped her hard that she came to her senses and fled in panic. The group chat fell into a deathly silence. No one dared to speak.
Why is everyone quiet now? Cat got your tongue. At 12:02, at 19:04, at 29:03 inch. I've recorded and taken screenshots of all the previous comments. If anyone still thinks they're a righteous bystander and wants to keep talking, go ahead.
This time, I was determined to use legal means to confront these keyboard warriors who danced to the tune of Scandal. Amid Michael Johnson's frantic shouts, the police took a tearful Emily Davis away for investigation. When he reappeared, his eyes had lost much of their spirit, and he looked worn out, with a few more gray hairs at his temples. Even though Michael Johnson hired the best legal team, Emily Davis was still sentenced to 3 years. After that, I moved out of the neighborhood but would return occasionally. We crossed paths in the elevator. Michael's gaze was like a venomous snake, full of malice. It seemed he hated me to the core. I picked up a medicine bottle that had accidentally fallen to the ground and softly asked him,
How does it feel to personally send the one you love most to prison?
He suppressed his anger and then sneered.
Your goal wasn't to take Emily away. You don't even love her.
Indeed. Not only did I not take her away, but I also wished them to be locked together forever, never to harm others.
Then why did you go to such lengths to ruin us?
I mouthed silently.
For fun.
He was livid, veins bulging, but could only watch as I walked away. On the day Emily Davis was released, I drove early to wait for her at the gate. When she saw it was me, she was stunned. Her eyes quickly filled with tears of grievance. She had cut her hair short, and her eyes were lifeless, a far cry from her former self. It was still a lenient outcome for her, as she had behaved well in prison and earned a reduced sentence. On the way, I struggled to speak.
I'm sorry.
She was taken aback, then shook her head with red-rimmed eyes and a bitter smile.
How can I blame you? You were the victim, yet you tried every way to cover for me. If it weren't for Michael Johnson pushing too far, you wouldn't have had to stand up to protect yourself.
I said no more. Sometimes, just a hint is enough. I dropped her off at the building. Coincidentally, we ran into Michael Johnson in the garage, who had dressed up and was about to go out. Seeing her, his eyes turned red. All his exhaustion and longing instantly turned into tears of joy.
Emily!
He rushed to her and hugged her tightly. Watching their reunion, I felt a sense of relief.
Frustrated Emily Davis had been job hunting for a while, but she kept hitting dead ends. She was feeling quite frustrated. Friendly at this time, I appeared in her life and secretly recommended her for a new job at a friend's company. On the day of the welcome dinner for new employees, I also attended. Here, she could finally start anew without being subjected to strange looks from others. She looked at me gratefully, with a cautious admiration in her eyes. Excited Emily, guess who's here? Cheerful, I went out for a smoke and happened to hear Michael at the front desk asking for you. What a coincidence. Following behind him was Michael Johnson. Panicked, why are you here? Conciliatory, honey, I just wanted to check out your new job, that's all. Serious, unfortunately, the refined mask he wore shattered the moment he saw me. 30 minutes later, he couldn't hold back any longer and cornered me outside the restroom. Angry, what are you doing here? Faint smile, what do you think? Serious, how have you been lately? After all this time, do those rumors still bother you? Serious, his pupils contracted, and his lips trembled with anger as I hit a sore spot. Suddenly, he stepped closer, fiercely questioning. Shouting, tell me, are you planning for a baby? Terrified, this scene was witnessed by Emily, who had rushed over. She quickly stepped in front of me, her voice soft and pleading. Pleading, Michael, can we talk about this at home? Dangerous, why are you always protecting him? Look closely, I am your husband. Weary, I'm sorry, I just want to start my new job peacefully without causing any more trouble. Please calm down. Provocative, shielded by her small frame, I looked at him provocatively. His eyes reddened, like a caged beast. Shouting, no, Emily, you can stay at home. I'll take care of you. But I won't let him interfere in our marriage anymore. Serious, the noisy music suddenly stopped. His out-of-control shouting echoed in the brief silence of the room. Sad, Michael, that's enough. John, he doesn't have those feelings for me. Serious, hearing this, Michael seemed to go mad. Ignoring everyone's stares, he rushed to the sofa and pulled a bottle of pills from my backpack, clutching it tightly. Panicked, finally, I spoke, with a hint of panic in my voice. Panicked, Michael, what are you doing with my stuff? That's private. Shouting, he's not just ruining our family, he's the reason you went to jail. And now he's planning for a baby, pretending to be your savior, keeping you on a string. Shouting, Emily, wake up. I'm the one who loves you. Look closely, these are pills for preparing for a baby. Serious, he held the bottle high. Emily's gaze grew cold. Suddenly, she let out a bitter laugh, her eyes filled with disdain. Bitter, Michael, look at yourself. How are you any different from a madman? Serious, open your eyes. These are antidepressants. Serious, like a bolt from the blue, Michael's hand.
Thanks to Michael Johnson's unexpected outburst, Emily Davis's new job opportunity was ruined. Furious, she wanted to leave home, but he locked her inside, refusing to let her out. The two tormented each other within the confines of the house. On the phone, Emily tearfully sought my help. I advised her to record evidence of Michael's controlling behavior and mistreatment. The next moment, a heated argument erupted.
Who did you call? Tell me. Was it that outsider again?
I didn't.
You've wasted all my genuine affection for you.
Ah!
Hearing the commotion on the other end, I kindly called the police for her. When the police escorted Michael out of the house, I was standing calmly outside the elevator. Suddenly, he broke free from the officers, rushed over, and grabbed my neck, veins bulging on his forehead, eyes glaring.
You've ruined my family! I'll haunt you even after I'm gone! I'll drag you to the depths!
But before I could struggle, the police restrained and handcuffed him. Emily, who had arrived upon hearing the news, slapped him hard.
Emily Davis, you have no heart at all.
Watching Michael's frenzied outburst on the floor, I softly told Emily.
Your husband has violent tendencies and tried to confine you. Once he's released after a few days, who knows what he might do to you? If there's a way to send him away for good, it would be a permanent solution.
She looked at him with red eyes and fell silent. I didn't say more. I just waited for her to finish her internal struggle. After all, breaking free from a controlling and unstable person would mean complete liberation and a fresh start. Who wouldn't be tempted by that? Michael didn't give up easily. He used his old tricks and wrote a farewell letter. This indeed garnered him a lot of attention and support from sympathetic netizens. Meanwhile, I once again faced a barrage of online attacks. As he played the victim online, exploiting the kindness of strangers, he didn't realize that his actions would be his final undoing. Amidst the overwhelming public outcry, Emily made up her mind, presented the evidence of his mistreatment, and ensured Michael was sent to prison. Watching him being restrained, his desperate screams ignored, his frantic explanations falling on deaf ears, I felt nothing but satisfaction.
I didn't confine her. I did it out of love. John Smith, you'll get your comeuppance. I'll never let you go, even after I'm gone.
He lunged at me, eyes wild, but was pinned down just before reaching me. I looked at him and spoke clearly.
Remember, if anyone's coming back for revenge, it's me. Enjoy the taste of being sent to hell by the one you love the most.
As I savored the moment, a despondent Emily approached me, her face full of tenderness.
John, since we're already misunderstood by everyone online, why not stick together for support?
Hearing the same words from my past life, I almost laughed to tears.
John?
Emily looked at me, confused, with an innocent expression. After laughing enough, I said,
Who said I'm also misunderstood online?
Didn't you see how harshly people are cursing us, calling us a pair of scoundrels?
Her voice grew softer and more uneasy. She must have suffered a lot recently.
Really? Take another look.
She hastily pulled out her phone, her face turning pale. Finally, she froze in utter despair. I believe she saw it. I had attached the court verdict and shared Michael's so-called farewell letter on social media, clearly explaining how I was entangled by this deranged couple. I also provided irrefutable evidence of her attempted misconduct. The netizens also noticed my posts from recent years, each one a cry for justice for my past self, each one reflecting my true feelings. In just one day, public opinion had completely shifted. Emily was now pinned to the pillar of shame as a deceitful woman, facing endless online abuse,